If you really want to know how to get the X factor into your paintings, this is the process you need to go through. There is no planning. This is how you break out of your intellectual thought ruts. You might know this feeling. You go into the studio and whatever comes out is the same thing you made last month in maybe slightly different colours. But it doesn't feel like that same thing you were so happy with, does it? You just can see yourself on repeat. Technically, there's nothing wrong. Nothing's broken, but none of it moves you anymore. And you can't work out if you've just run out of ideas or nerve, or you're seeing differently. So about a year ago, I was having a rough spot myself. And as usual, I conducted an experiment on myself to see if I could stir things up. So I did something that is not new to artists. I tapped into purge of imagery without any conscious attempt to make art. I've done that all my life, and it's actually turned out to be how I've made my best paintings, through that foundation, because I trusted it and I carried it through to the end and made paintings out of it that sold. So one day I went over and said, I'm just going to do this in my sketchbook, and I did it. I'll show you that video in the next one. But what I did is I just filmed it and I recorded it, and I thought out loud, thinking maybe I might show this. And I didn't for over a year. I wasn't quite sure where to put it because of my ego, right? Because it's not finished, not formed. All through my painting career, I didn't really pay much attention as to how unique imagery evolved out of me. I just took it for granted and just did it. And it's only now, as I'm making this YouTube channel and talking to you and thinking about offering something back other than just my art to the market, that I've started to actually ask, how does that imagery come about? Because when you're talking to other artists who are not enjoying that flow, then you start to examine. Because I've actually discovered that something I took for granted my entire life, which pretty much set up what was referred to as my X factor, is not something that everybody accesses easily. This is about the process and seeing whether or not I can actually help you understand how you can really access some of your core X factor material by maybe looking at some of the ways I did it. There's no way that you're going to be able to be me or replicate my imagery. So I have no fear in sharing it all with you, because I trust this so much that I know what you've got in you, your uniqueness, will actually come through this and will just set you aside. It'll stand you on your own. While I say about this process I'm about to go through with you, that you need to get your ego out of the way, so when you go about it, you've got to not be thinking, oh, is this going to be a saleable painting? Because that will create problems. At the same time, because I've done this all my life and those images do become saleable paintings, I will have to walk a tightrope with you. So hold that paradox. You're going to see me sort of flipping, flopping, saying, let it go, don't think about the end result. Hold it lightly. That doesn't matter. It's the process. I think this could be a breakthrough for a lot of you, to find your courage through this process. When I show you these videos, I'm going to also show you artworks of my own that have evolved out of this process. So this isn't going to be how to paint videos. It's not going to be how you get your best method. It's literally, as I keep saying, like a visual morning pages, purge. And I've got a lot of, conspiracy stuff in my head, and that will come out a lot. But that is what's worrying me deep inside. So by expressing it in my own visual way and getting it out of myself, it gives me a little bit of fun. I get to laugh at it. And the outcome is quite interesting, especially when I show you images like the Galapagos manipulation and the griffin. During that period, I did quite a lot of works based on this process. So these images emerged out of exactly this kind of mess, because your consciousness is actually wrestling with your unconscious images, the images that come up, they're just like a purge. So you could say you're conscious when you're doing it. So, you don't have to go down that rabbit hole of, is it enlightened? I don't care, really. One of you put up a comment from Socrates, I know nothing. And that's exactly the way I approach. I'm just saying, I'm an artist. I've got hands. I'm a visual artist. This is what comes out of me. And I put words out of my mouth at the same time. So you can actually see what was coming out. I like words. I write a lot. And I love the accountability of words. You can still use them creatively, but they've got discipline around them. But when you go to imagery, the sky's the limit. You've got more room to move. So this is how you break out of your intellectual thought ruts. In my most recent video, how to access your metaphoric code, I dig into how you can move between the conscious and the unconscious, and practical stuff on how to get your intellect out of the way of that process. You need to be conscious, aware, alert to actually wrangle with it. But you let the stuff come up out of you. You were born a story machine, preloaded. That's not a wacky, dreamy, abstract concept. It is how the psyche is built, just like you have an arm and a leg. It is in your DNA. The code that story runs on is metaphor, really ancient stuff. The kind of metaphor I mean is not about branding and memes. Branding is a trap for the soul's development, and it'll choke you to death. And yet that's what you're told you have to do. Artists carry that metaphoric code better than historians do, because we go straight for the feeling. And I mean artists, poets, writers, the works. And feeling is where the truth actually sits, which is exactly why it gets used against you through the manipulation of stories or narratives. They do that because you are a story machine. You swallow it like oxygen. While we need to breathe air and drink water, it's better if it's not poisoned. So it's the same lever, but it's just in different hands. The people running the narratives know all of this. So if all you're making is decoration on pattern repeat, feeling safe, that isn't kind of just neutral. It's almost an abdication of your soul-making needs. That's you leaving your post as a soul maker. Real soul making is waking up to your own unconsciousness, sober, aware, alert, and hopefully for creatives, logging that wrestling match physically on the page, on the canvas, with your actual hands. But you can't do that while you're clogged up. Repeating yourself is the blockage. It ends up freezing the pipes or, as we said, blocking them, which is why we start here with this series coming up. It's a purge. It's not a meditation, which in my mind is quite often more mind tricks with the intellect. We actually need a plumber. And most artists actually know this. Soul making is done in the body. Right through this series, I'm going to get on every episode and see if I can push that concept a little further. The first day was me testing the idea out. So, I did some in the sketchbook and then I did a few on the easel, pretty rough, but it was seeing if it would work. But after that first day, I made it a proper thing. So 8 paintings a day, large enough so I had to stand up and engage my body. I had to paint on crappy, thin butcher paper so it wouldn't get precious. On the easel, which kept me standing up, and I had to film it no matter how crappy it was with 2 to 3 cameras. I had to narrate it as it came out of my mind. That was that double action. For example, for mind purging and body trying to action it. And I had to speak to the camera, you, about the crap as it was pouring out. What can emerge later on is another thing. I found myself painting expressive abstraction, which I'd never really got the handle of. But eventually I evolved into it. It was wonderful. So you might get a bit of a surprise what happens. Towards the very end of the series, you should see what the outcome was. I hope to be able to take some of these paintings through to fruition to show you where they can go. Not a painting demo channel. It's actually a soul-making process video for creative people. Don't worry if you're not an artist. you're a writer, do the same thing. The next video is day one, which was the very beginning of the idea. Just me and a sketchbook on the table, cheap paper, no plan, and that will be followed by 7 more episodes where I got serious and headed to the easel. And the playlist where all of these videos will be, including this one, is called The Purge. Okay, see you soon.
Ha ha ha. The sun says, I'm getting revenge on you.